Greetings, peace and blessings. I'm the Moon Mama, and I wanted to share a video today about what has been my own pathway towards healing my relationship to white supremacy, imperialism, um, capitalism, and all of those systems that divide me against myself in ways that I don't even see or know. Now, the first thing that I want to say is that this is an ongoing process. It's not something that, for me, has just been oh, I fixed this and then it's gone. It's something that I'm having to be in a constant relationship with. Similar to what I would think people who are in AA or who, do those sort of addiction programs. It's like you always have a proclivity towards that addiction, and so you want to be mindful of that. I don't think that that's the best way to be with it, but so far, that's how I am with it. So, white supremacy and whiteness is what I really want to call it because it's just really whiteness. It's this identity that is aligned against the laws of nature. That's what it is. It goes against the laws of nature. And the laws of nature um, are really inclusive of all things. Now, that's the thing about whiteness is that it is devoid of anything but itself. And so that is not natural. So when I began to study and see and understand how the system, American system, the Western system is set up um, to extract, to create like a duality, us against them, her and him, like, and, but through exclusion, I'm sorry, when I began to see that, the next thing I had to do was to see where I was participating in it. I had to begin to witness myself in the practice of white supremacy. Now, this is a difficult thing to get because it's like, I'm black. How could I be a white supremacist? You know, but it's not about like white supremacy and racism. It really isn't about the color of our skin only in this country. It's deeper than that. It's class. It's programming. It's access. It's all of these things. And so, and it's not just what happened in the past. It's still happening because it's a system that has been constructed. So the question is, how am I participating in it? And this question, when I started asking myself this, brought me right to my relationship with nature and how I really didn't have any idea um, about how to really heal myself. I didn't understand the earth that I was a part of. I didn't understand the cycles I didn't have any relationship. My life was very much, I got to get a job. My life was very rooted in Western ideas. Western ideas around romance, Western ideas of economics, Western ideas of cultural practices and religion. Everything in my life was rooted in Western ideas and practices. Even if I didn't if I wasn't being gratified in these practices, it was what I was taught and conditioned in. So it didn't occur to me to think that there was another way, that there were other options. And so I just found myself in the experiences of um, attempting to meet the goalposts and the markers of Western ideas of success and Western ideas of health, and as I begin to deconstruct my relationship with, the Western identity, I'm realizing that most of what I was taught around health and food and mental health and relationship and love and religion, most of history, most of it is all constructed narratives to support white supremacy or whiteness, completely devoid of true historical facts around the rest of humanity. And when I was a student at Howard University, I minored in history. And one of the things that I studied was how to study history. And it was very interesting. One time I was in the Library of Congress, and I remember hearing myself say, where were black people before we were slaves? Because up to that point, I had never seen anything, and I was 20 years old. I had never seen anything that depicted black people as anything other than being slaves or barbaric people who were swinging from the trees in Africa. Like, that's what, at 20 years old, that's all I had really been formulated with. And so there was a deep experience of self hatred that came from that. But I had to, once I started learning how to study, I realized that, oh, all of this is just made up stuff. None of it is real. None of it is real. So then I had to start to see, well, where am I getting these stories from? And then how have these stories impacted me? And how have these stories impacted my community? And, and the questioning of the narratives and my participation in them, whether I was participating as a victim of them, right? Because as a black person, I wasn't participating, as a racist or a slave owner, but I was participating as a victim because that was the information that I was giving, and my body, my soul, my spirit was responding to the lie. And so I felt continuously victimized in my life and in my culture, but in my narratives inside of myself. So I had to begin to um, understand the truth. What was really the truth? So that's why I started studying cosmology and Kemet, and just really went into deep ancient history so that I could get a better understanding of what was real as opposed to the narratives that I had been given as a child in Christianity and the American public school system, um, that was formulating my sense of self. Because what was really pulling me was that I was in pain because I was feeling like I hated myself. Like, because all of the what I saw, my perception, all of that was of things that were painful and full of distress and harmful and death ridden. Like, all of that was what was going on. And as I begin to study and learn, I'm realizing that this is just the American narrative that is anchored in whiteness. And at the psychological level, whiteness needs an opposition. It needs a boogeyman. It needs something that that's out to get it, or that it's out to get, because of the psyche and the psychology of whiteness is anchored in scarcity. Is anchored in being the evolution of not having enough, right? So if you think about the earth during winter time, and the people who are in Europe are in the cold and they're not having enough, so there is this hunger, this deep hunger within them that is insatiable, generally. Um, and it's a part of the nature. And so, as I have explored it in myself, my insatiability, my predatory nature, the separation inside of me, as I've explored it and touched it inside of myself, then I'm no longer triggered by it. Then I'm no longer needing to function in that way if I can identify it in myself. And here's the thing, the biggest part has been to own and understand for me how the universe works so that I won't allow my ego to say that's not me. Everything is everywhere to varying degrees. So I might not be as white supremacist or racist as, say, for quote unquote Hitler, right? But because it's in the environment, I have it. And so my intention to explore it and heal it and transmute it is what frees me from the experience of it. Now, the thing that's important to know about this, as melanated beings, for us as black people, we are melanated. So our mind really does wield reality because we are connected to the sun. Our melanin is like chlorophyll and it absorbs the sun. And when it absorbs the sun reads it and creates a construct, creates experience, creates feelings that run through our system that we project into the reality. So if we are the only ones who can really, really change this reality from as it is currently to what we desire for it to be. Because we have the codes of light that run from the sun that say, we are here now in this new age, in this new era. How should we behave now? How should we think now? Otherwise, because whiteness and those who live in it don't have access to the environment and nature because whiteness goes against nature. So, you hear put on your sunblock and all these sort of things that keep you away from nature in very practical ways and also deeply spiritual ways, right? Because they don't have access to that, they don't have the power to change it, which is why we cannot expect them to. I'm not saying that we can't that it's not a good hope, but they're going to follow us, is what I'm trying to say. They can't lead this. We lead this. The melanated beings, the natural beings, the organic beings lead this transformation. And nobody can do it but us. And when we do it, we will begin to see the impact of it. So like I was saying earlier, I began asking myself, how am I participating in it health wise? How am I participating in whiteness health wise? Well, for me, I was relying on doctors rather than understanding my own body and how it worked and using doctors to support my own well being, not what they're telling me to do. I remember when I was pregnant, I remember telling myself, your body is built for this, Monique. You don't have to be afraid to have a baby. You don't have to let the medical system own your body and how you are going to be in this pregnancy. So I had to begin to really take my body back. I was a slave to money. Money was God to me. So I had to begin to shift the way I related to money and begin to create a new relationship with it. My ideas of romance were all anchored in, happily ever after, fairy tale bullshit, Disneyland. Like most women, they're conditioned us to be looking for Prince Charming, or through Christian, ideas that men have a power and women don't. So I had to really change my relationship with romance and my heart and my sexuality. I had to question how I was participating in white supremacy in nearly every way in my life. And I'm still doing it in many ways, but it is transforming in profound ways because when I align myself to nature, the cycles of the sun, the cycles of the moon, my relationship to the environment, to the trees, to oxygen, to the herbs, to the crystals, right? When I align myself with that, then a whole nother reality begins to come alive. And what I'm experiencing is this sort of way that the universe, I take a step and the universe is just there meeting me. It is a little bit disconcerting because I'm very much living in the unknown right now. But that's the way this world is meant to be. We're not supposed to have all the answers like this the Western world would say that we did. It's not all reason. It's also mystery. And so the more I embrace the mystery, the more the mystery embraced me, and I feel safer and safer than I've ever felt when I was totally anchored in the practices of whiteness. And so my prayer is that we can begin to do the work to heal ourselves because these systems are going to begin to collapse more and more and more. And we're, like I said yesterday, in my video yesterday, higher rates of suicide, higher rates of drug addiction, um, higher rates of mass murderers. Like all of this stuff is beginning to increase because the practices of whiteness don't anchor you into your heart and your soul. They don't give you anything beyond the mundane, and the mundane is the least of who we are. We are the totality of the universe. And so the more we can lean into that fullness, that wholeness, and let go of the limited, constricted practices of whiteness, we can expand our hearts and begin to build new communities and new systems that actually work. And understanding that we're in alignment with the earth, there is enough here. But we have to stop practicing the lies. We have to stop believing the lies. And like I said, the more I ask myself, how am I participating? And don't allow my ego to separate me out as if it's them over there and not me. Like really, I had to take full responsibility. Every day I'm in full responsibility for my life, my choices, how it's, and I understand that there was a time when I was really asleep and unconscious, and but I take responsibility for that too. And there's a way to do that by forgiving yourself. I forgive myself for what I didn't know when I didn't know it. I just forgive myself and I love myself. All right, you all. Peace and blessings. We continue to transform. I invite you to join the Mercury retrograde class that is starting. This Mercury retrograde class is going to help us unwind those old thought patterns so that we can come into mental authority in our own lives. And you can go to my Instagram page and my profile and join Follow the Sun, which is my community where I teach how we can align ourselves to new ways of being in gentle ways, in gentle processes that allow us to get from this place to the next place with grace and ease. Peace and blessings. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.